eat solid food, but like soft solid food.
Oh, okay.
So like bread, pasta,
Bread.
and like steamed vegetables.
Steamed vegetables.
I haven't had meat in so long.
I crave the flesh of
I
animals.
want a hamburger. Like, you don't understand how badly I want a hamburger.
Dude, I don't. I don't.
So, well, you don't eat hamburgers regularly anyways, do you?
No.
Oh, so you don't know.
No, I wouldn't know.
But like, what if you had to go like a week and a half without like chicken nuggets?
It's be a dark time.
It's a dark time, Taylor. I want a hamburger.
Dude, at this point, if I don't get a hamburger soon, someone's gonna die.
I had a breakdown the other day. I don't like admitting I have problems, but I do. And so the other day, because yes, we're going to be talking about me and my wisdom teeth again, okay? Calm down. I'm in pain. Let
it
me,
hurts. I'm in pain.
Let
It
me
hurts.
have this.
Oh, man. I'm in pain. Oh.
Just let me vent, okay? Because I've already vented to everybody around me, and I get to vent to you guys too now. So thank you.
Great.
They
They have no choice. Well, I guess they have the most choice out of anyone else.
Honestly,
they could just stop
turn it
listening.
off, or they could just skip ahead.
Yeah.
Like the most. Okay. Don't even remember what I was gonna say now. I got my wisdom teeth out, but not only did I have to get my wisdom teeth out, they had to take out part of my jawbone because like the bone was too close to the wisdom tooth. So I got bone graft. So they chip out the bone and then they put like substitute bone back in.
Oh, I always thought they might just like kind of leave it. Nope. I was like, oh, cool. Can you like fill your hole in your jaw?
Nope.
That'd be awesome.
But they put the bone back in. And so I had to have stitches when I got my wisdom teeth removed. And it was awful. It was so annoying to like bite down and like feel like you're biting on a stitch, or like if it came loose, because one of them did come loose. And so it was just, I'm sorry, it sounds gross, but it was just like hanging there.
Yeah, I had stitches in my wisdom teeth as well.
And so like, it's just annoying to like, something's in your mouth and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, you have to wait for it to fall out. And then when it does, you're like,
Yep.
That was in me.
That's in me. But I got my stitches out on Tuesday, which was like 3 days ago.
Oh, you took them out.
Yeah, he had to take them out. They weren't like dissolvable stitches.
Okay.
So I went back and he took them out. And that's what I had been waiting for the entire week, was to get the stitches out. Because then I thought, okay, now I can eat like normally. Like that's fine. So I got home and the pain was unbearable. And so I couldn't eat like solid food like I wanted to. I couldn't have the hamburger that I wanted. And I cried, and I just sat on the couch and cried because I wanted a hamburger. And I still want a hamburger.
Truly a first world dilemma.
I'm sorry, I take it all back. That was okay, I'm sorry. Never mind. Milkshakes are fine.
Even that. It's like, oh, man.
But it's not just, I also just yogurt. Milkshakes and yogurt is all I've had.
Do you know what I had when I had my wisdom teeth taken out?
I don't, because you can't eat anything.
Yeah, so I had milkshakes and mashed potatoes and so many fucking zebra cake rolls. I'm talking like 2 or 3 boxes of
day.
A day. Just gnawing through them, sucking them down like a little zebra tube. Just but yeah, that's what I had to eat, and it was so weird.
See, but I don't mean to make your pain any less, because
I don't mean to make your pain any less,
but I am. But you're used to eating the same food every day.
That's true.
I am not. Tired of it.
Dude, imagine 12 years of that.
I can't.
12
I
years
would
of it.
off myself.
Nice.
Thank you for not offing yourself.
Close.
Nope.
Real close.
Nope.
This is Media for the Intellectually Impoverished. I'm Taylor.
I'm Randy.
And this is the podcast that
enriches your mediocre lives.
So we're not going to kill ourselves.
Nope.
Let's just preface with
Yep,
that.
we're okay.
Yeah, we're good.
We're doing good.
I'm going to have a zebra cake at some point this week.
Maybe next week I can have a hamburger.
You could have a zebra cake. You don't like zebra cakes?
I don't really like like those kinds of desserts.
Like little sweets, like little desserts.
Mm-mm.
Really?
Like, but I mean, I'll eat like cake or I'll have like donuts, but like the prepackaged like ones, like, you know, Little Debbie's, like it's not just zebra cakes. You can also get like honey buns or like Swiss rolls or all that. I don't like any of that stuff.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's just the like artificial like icing flavor. I just don't really like because all of that has artificial icing in it.
That's true.
So-
I just enjoy zebra cakes.
I just like diabetes.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm planning for the future or anything.
I don't think you are. That's what...
I never said I was. Oh man.
No. You need a new bit for this episode, okay?
Good. You were the one that told me.
I said, but now I'm tired of it again. So now I am tired of it again if you didn't get it the first time.
I'm tired of it.
So please pick a new bit.
Great. Cool. I'll come up with one.
Right now. Go. Cool. Today we're going to be talking about... You don't know?
I was going to say it, and then you said you don't know. I was still...
Why was there like 3 seconds of pause?
Because I had to remember what exactly it was.
What exactly it was? What are we talking about?
Editing.
There you go.
I knew. It took me because I was like still trying to come up with a bit.
A bit. Your brain was in bit mode. Jokes. Funny. What's funny?
God, make someone laugh. I bumped the mic. We're talking about editing today.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of editing.
We're going back to basics.
Back
like
to
this is one of like
basics.
the like core things about media.
That's cinema.
Not even just cinema. Like all kind of like if you're writing, you
That's
have to
true.
edit.
Yeah,
If you're,
I wasn't thinking in those
it's
terms.
a different
though.
kind of editing.
That's true. That's more of like in the like pre-planning, not pre-planning, but like that's part of the writing process is editing, I guess, before you finally put it out. I guess it's all kind of part of the process before you finally put it out. It just means different things in each aspect.
Editing in regards to like books and novels is like it's throughout the whole process from like start to finish. Like you're going to be editing it until it goes out. But for like movies in particular, like that's the last thing you do is you edit it.
Yeah, editing is that's what makes it. Like without the editing process, there is no movie.
Do you edit in video games?
Yeah,
I mean, you have to compile everything, but is
it's-
that called editing?
It's not called editing. I mean, it's just like we call it sequencing.
Oh, okay.
So it's lining up the points in the story before creating, those points and then putting them together.
Because you don't create anything that you don't need.
Mhm.
Like, because that would take. I mean, that does happen where you decide to like throw something out.
You create things that you end up not needing, but you never create something that you didn't want.
Yeah. Okay.
So, because when you're filming things or when you're writing things, there might be things that you realize, oh, we don't really want that. Specifically in filming things, when you're looking at the shot, you're like, that is not what I wanted. Like, but when it comes to creating a video game, like everything you're creating, you wanted at some point.
Yeah.
Right. But you just didn't have the resources. It didn't fit in the story. You changed your mind, but at some point you wanted it.
Yeah.
So that's why you create it. But yeah.
And then I'm just trying to think of other media. I mean, you edit even for podcasts.
Yeah, podcasting. It's sort of the same vein of as editing any piece of film. Really, audio editing is it's much more technical. I think because it's like a different feel of editing than it is with cinema. Because with cinema, you've got the video and you've got the audio and everything's kind of all lined up for you, and then you're just putting it in place in what looks and feels right. But when it comes to audio, like there's no way to because it's not like seeing something. Because when you see something and you see it and it's wrong in an editing, or it feels wrong when you're viewing it, then like that's a visual thing. Humans are basically unless you're blind. No offense to blind people, we're visual learners. We learn things visually. We understand things in a visual format. But when it comes to this audio stuff, I mean, I'm looking at a waveform, right? I'm looking at these spikes, but I have to listen to it and actively think about, is this sounding good? Not just the content, but like the actual physical sound of it. Does it sound bad? Is there a reverb? How do I get rid of the reverb? Does this reverb sound good? Does getting rid of the reverb make it sound bad? It's a lot more technical in that aspect than it is in any sort of visual format. That's our little tidbit. Editing is different for different pieces of media. It's the sort of the gist of that conversation.
It is, but I think everybody can agree it's tedious.
It's tedious.
Editing is very tedious.
But it's sort of the piece of the puzzle that is
like you can't live without. Like you have to edit.
You have to edit.
Like it's unavoidable.
It's a necessity, and it's the point of which you're really getting your story together. It's the part of the storytelling process that is piecing together these blocks or is refining those pieces of your rock, right?
Yeah. You're polishing your rock. It's the last step. You got to make it shine.
It is tedious, and it's not everyone loves it. I enjoy it a lot. I like editing a lot. That's why I like to edit the podcast. I like to make everything feel right. I like to add in the funny sound effects. I don't know if I told you, but there was one episode where you were coughing a lot, and I took audio of you coughing and like getting ready to cough, and then I just put a duck quack.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me?
I didn't tell you.
Oh my God.
It's so funny because you're like, quack.
That's great. Why didn't you tell me about that?
I didn't remember to tell you.
What episode is it in?
I don't fucking know.
Somebody let us know. Somebody who's listened to all of the episodes, please let me know what episode that's in.
It's pretty recent. It's like within the past 3 episodes. I believe it's No Think Just Say.
Okay.
26. It's like the beginning quarter of the episode. And it's just,
if you would have told me that, I could have used that for the Instagram post, and that would have been fucking hilarious.
It's so much better that it comes out of left field.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, because the entire episode you're coughing, you're like, oh, I gotta cough, and then there's one time you're like, oh man, I gotta cough, and you go, and I go, quick.
That's so random. Like never anywhere in the episode did we like talk about ducks or like making, and you just, it's brilliant. That's genius. That's great.
Like there was, I think in the same episode, I used like a sensor beep to get through the coughing and just shit like that, where like every time you would cough, I just put a weird sound effect in there. It's so good. Great. It was great. Such a fun time. I had a great time editing that episode.
I wouldn't say that I love editing. I can handle it. Like there are some people who just like absolutely hate editing with a passion and just don't want to do it at all because it's so tedious. I'm not going to go out of my way to edit, but if you asked me to, if I needed to, I could do it.
I can see that because you're very much like a tedious person. Like that's your jam, is making sure every little thing is done right.
Is perfect, is in the proper place. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so the stuff that I've seen that you've edited has all been good. It's nothing crazy. I know the stuff that I've edited is
phenomenal. It's just God tier.
The best.
That quack. Oh my God.
Chef's kiss.
Oh God.
But yeah, we have pieces of media that we think, I mean, we both picked
basically like the same thing, which is great because that's the vibe though.
Yeah. So I picked Channel Zero, Candle Cove. So Channel Zero is a horror anthology show. Anthology is when either an episode or a season is one story, and then the next episode or the next season is another story. So like a good example of that would be American Horror Story. That's an anthology series. Every season is completely new characters, completely new stories. So this one does the same thing. It aired on Sci-Fi in 2016 is when it debuted. Now, what is interesting about Channel Zero, every season is based on an urban legend or a creepypasta.
Okay.
If you don't know what a creepypasta is, if you're like over the age
Where have you been living? What have you been doing?
Well, we do have at least one listener that is over the age of 30. So
so they might not know. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So a creepypasta is, it's the same idea as an urban legend, but it exists solely online, right? So someone online posted a photo of something. The most well-known creepypasta is Slender Man. That is the guy that is in the woods and he steals your children and stuff.
Is that what he does?
I don't know. He makes you go crazy and he takes you away to some place.
I just remember him looking like really creepy. Yeah, that's it.
But it's a man, and it's a very tall man, like 8-9 feet tall, wearing a business suit with no face. It's just white. Other ones are like the Russian sleep experiment. That's a creepypasta.
That's real. I read the book because you got me the book and it was good.
It's stuff like that. It originated online as a story online, maybe in an image thread, maybe on like a blog, but it came to online and rose to popularity online. So this first season is based off of the story Candle Cove, written. Oh, it was totally on the Wikipedia article for the show.
You use Wikipedia?
Wikipedia is an amazing source. Think about it.
I know. I
hate people.
I don't know why
Wikipedia.
our entire childhood we were told that Wikipedia was a non-reliable source.
Yeah, there's hundreds of people that are just editing millions upon millions of articles for free.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
constantly being like fact checked. Like you can't, like there are people out there who like put up like fake stuff on the web pages and they like within the hour get like taken down for being false.
They didn't used to, and I think that's why people were so upset about it. But after a while, like they really cracked down on it. So this initial one, this first season, Channel Zero Candle Cove, was based off the story Candle Cove by Chris Straub. Chris Straub he's a web cartoonist. And he posted this story online, and it gained fame. And the basic story of the Creepypasta is there was this show that people saw when they were kids. It was this pirate show, right? But it was really eerie, and there's no information on it online whatsoever. And the only thing that people remember of it is these puppets, them looking strange, and then one episode where all of the characters are just screaming nonstop, and they didn't stop screaming. People said they've had nightmares about it and stuff like that. So it sort of rose to popularity because a bunch of people came out saying that they'd heard about it, which we don't know if it's true or false, but it's on the internet, so who knows? Well, eventually someone saw this story and was like, I want to turn this into a movie. So the director of the series, Craig William McNeil, not the series of the season, is Craig William McNeil, and he took it and turned it into a show, like a horror television show. And it tells the story of this child psychologist played by Paul Schneider, who you might know him from Parks and Rec. But yeah, Paul Schneider plays a child psychologist, a renowned child psychologist who's returning to his hometown to investigate these killings of 5 children from when he was a child. And while he's there, he believes that the killings were connected to this show called Candle Cove. And when he returns, the show starts airing again. And people start to go missing, things go awry. It is amazing. It is terrifying. And it is so well edited.
It is.
So well edited. Even in just the first episode. So a lot of the story is told in these flashbacks. Right? You see a lot of flashbacks. Typically, when you have flashbacks in movies and TV shows, they'll completely cut back to the past. This one does that sometimes, but for the most part, a lot of the flashbacks you're seeing in real time. So what's happening is the scene is playing out, they're talking about something, then suddenly the character played by Paul Schneider is going to have a flashback, and he sees something that happened in the past. Right? And it's still the audio from the present, but you see the events from the past unfolding. You get little snippets here and there, and it sort of reveals this story that's going along, and you start to pick up things here and there. I'm going to go ahead and issue a spoiler warning now, because I'm probably going to delve into some of the stuff that's going to be spoiler. It's only 6 episodes long.
I finished it in a day,
yeah,
honestly. I mean, and the episodes aren't that long.
They're 40 minutes.
40 minutes, yeah. So you could, you can.
It is a killer show. It's only available for streaming on Shudder, which is,
because I looked for it other places, but I couldn't find it.
Which is the horror streaming platform. You might be able to find it on, if you have like your internet. You have your TV provider might have it on demand, so you can check that if anyone even still uses like TV stuff.
Randi raises her hand. I do.
Yes. You may be able to find it on that and stream it on there. But the only place it's streamable online is on Shudder. But Shudder is really cheap. It's only $5.99 a month.
Yeah.
And you can do a week for free. So go do it. Watch the first season or watch the whole show. Come back. It's fucking rules. So as I was saying, like these cuts, they're strange because it's not. I wanted to say it's a non-diegetic cut, right? Diegetic being the characters in the world can see it.
Yeah.
in non-diegetic is it's happening only for the audience. But it is a diegetic cut because the character is seeing it in his head.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting style. I've never seen it used before like this. So it cuts to these moments, these flashbacks, and you're hearing the scene continue while this character is having a flashback, and then suddenly it'll cut back to the character.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the most recognizable part about the editing style is that style of cutting. It's got a lot of quick cuts.
It does.
It's a very fast-paced editing style, which complements the beginning half because the story itself is very much sort of a slow-burning kind of horror.
It is.
But the editing speeds up that horror through these flashbacks. There's you're seeing nightmares that Paul Schneider has had. And you're seeing these horrific things that Paul Schneider has seen or done. That's what the horrifying parts are. Like, that's the scary parts. Because he's been traumatized by seeing Candle Cove. And when those kids died, his twin brother was one of those kids that died. And then you find out later that his twin brother was sort of responsible for it.
That was incredible.
It was crazy. So, sorry if you haven't seen the show. Now I've spoiled.
No, they have. They did.
I'm not kidding. If you haven't watched the show, go watch it.
It's really good. Usually I don't listen to Taylor's recommendations, but this one was really good. And especially
amazing.
if you really like horror. I mean, it is scary.
It's scary.
I was watching it at 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
No, because I wanted to finish it. Like, because
Yeah.
I was watching it in one day, and so it got late, and I was like, do I want to keep watching at night? And I did, and then I didn't sleep because it... What is it with you and teeth? What is it with you and teeth?
No fucking clue.
What is it with
No
you
idea.
and teeth?
No idea. So there's a lot of the work done in this show is practical. They have very, very few special effects, which I really admire for horror. Because nowadays you get a lot of special effects monsters which don't look so great.
And they look hokey and
You know, like the Slender Man movie, one of the biggest things was like it was the person himself. Like, there's an actor that did the creature work for some of the scenes, but in the big reveal scenes, it was all special effects, and no one liked that because it looked gross.
Yeah.
These are all practical effects. Every creature is a practical effect, and it adds such a terrifying nature to it because you're seeing these, and they exist. It's not CGI. There's this monster. It's a little boy made up completely of teeth.
It's just teeth.
It's like the selling point for Shudder. The main page has a photo of this creature, and it's completely made of teeth, and it eats teeth, and it takes people's teeth, and it's so weird because I want to touch it. I want to touch it.
No, I don't.
I do.
Not at all.
So bad.
It's teeth. Have you never accidentally bit your cheek or something? How bad that hurts? Or have a little kid bite your finger? It hurts. And you want to go touch a tooth monster?
I mean, if I just had the opportunity to touch him and he didn't do anything back, I'd do it.
If he was just
Chilling.
unconscious on the
He's
ground,
just a
I'd tap his head.
Yeah, I don't know what he feels like. I gotta know. It's like one of those
He feels
tactile
like
things.
a bunch of teeth.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But that's not the only creature. There's at least one more creature, which is at the end of the series, it's the Skin Taker.
Yeah, okay. I was going to see if you got the name, yeah.
Dear God. That one is the one that fucked me up the most.
Yup.
So... Oh, I gotta get back to the editing.
I know, we're talking about characters.
Let's just keep talking about it just for a little bit. I want to finish this off. Dear God. So his story is he takes the skin of the children that have died and he wears it because he has no skin.
Yep.
And so he wears it. And so there's this scene where he's at the end of a hallway and he's literally shaking the skin of other people off. And it's like rotten skin that's flying off of him. And then he stabs a bunch of, he makes his own face out of the skin there by stabbing it with sticks and then carving his smile.
Yeah.
And then he sets himself on fire. I don't know why. That's terrifying. It's so scary.
It's so good. It is. Okay,
Oh, man.
editing.
Editing. So these are some of the cleanest cuts.
Yeah.
Some of the cleanest cuts in editing I've seen. And what they do to achieve that is during a scene. So if every scene is a block, right? During one block of a scene, when the only time they would cut is when there was an action, when someone was doing something.
Cutting on action is a very like prominent thing that they do in the industry.
But it's almost every single cut within the scene is cut on action, whether the action be a speaking dialogue or them opening a doorknob. But for some reason, they just sort of cleaned it just right, so where every cut just feels so smooth.
Yeah.
Like the point of most editing, it's a stylistic choice, right? There's some editing that don't follow this, but the point of most editing is to not be noticed. You don't want to notice. You don't want to
notice the editing,
especially in a piece that is so tense. If the only time that they're using a stylistic choice to take you out of it is because the characters are jolted. Say like waking up from a dream. There's a cut when Paul Schneider is walking down this field and then he falls straight down. You know how like you fall in a dream?
Yep.
And then he jolts awake. That cut
was beautiful.
is a jarring cut because that's what it feels like. And so it's complementing the tone of the piece with its editing. Another thing that they do a lot is really, really tiny J and L cuts.
Yes.
So a J cut and an L cut it's a reference to, in film, when you're filming and you're editing, you'll see the video and the audio have two separate lines, right? And when you're making a cut, an L cut is when the video for the next scene or the next shot is overlaid with audio from the previous shot, right? And so when you're looking at it on the editing screen, the left side looks like an L.
Yeah.
Because it's an L cut, right?
Yeah.
So the audio from the previous shot is continuing when the video of the next shot is happening. So the opposite of that is a J cut. It's when the audio of the next shot is overlaid with the video from the previous shot.
Cut.
So they use those, but at such small distinctions that it's like there's no cut at all, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like the same take. It can't be the same take because of obvious reasons.
Because you're moving locations.
And it's impossible. Or I mean, unless they had a 2-camera setup, but that's not typically how you film those kinds of scenes, especially in small houses. But these J cuts and L cuts are so small that it feels like it flows.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't feel like it's a fake conversation that's just back and forth. Another thing that they do during conversations is they don't always cut back and forth from the character. They did a really good job of focusing on the character work, like the actors themselves and the things that they're doing. During tense scenes, typically they wouldn't cut from one character at all. You'd be watching this one character with a static, maybe a push-in shot, and then the conversation is happening around them, but you're watching this one character react to this conversation. And some of those shots are extremely powerful, especially in some of the situations they're in. Some of the very tense situations that come about, like when Paul Schneider is locked to the chair and the 3 people are interrogating him, and it's just sort of him, and then you're hearing these people talk around him, like what they're gonna do and stuff like that. And then another one is when you find out, like at the end, who the real killer was, and there's a slow push in to that character while Paul Schneider and his mom are sitting around a table and they're having this conversation, and you know that the killer has a gun, like, but she's not holding it. It's just that scene there is really tense and really well edited, but it's allowing the editing to, like, they know what they want to focus on.
I know, and that's the thing with editing. Editing is so intentional. It's, you are making every choice. The editor and the director and the whole team who's making the film, they're making every single choice. Okay, at this exact frame, I want it to change from here to here. I want the audio to change from here to here. I want this to suddenly, like, every change is so intentional. And I think what's so great about Candle Cove is that a lot of the shots are like seamless, and so it's so beautiful. It's exactly what you're saying. I'm just repeating everything that you're saying. It's so seamless, and that's what makes it like so engaging. Is that you're there watching it, and you're not jolted unless like the intent is for you to be jolted. The editing, it's not very stylized editing. I mean, in terms, it's very like basic editing. It's going back and forth between 2 characters. Did you notice the amount of over the shoulder shots?
Yeah. Lots of them.
The whole thing is just over the shoulder shots. And And so they're not doing anything really fancy. I mean, it's almost basic editing, but they do it so well and so intentionally that it comes out flawlessly.
Yeah.
The other thing that they do is they focus heavily on this main character, on Paul
Schneider.
That's
the actor. It's not the character.
I know. Sorry, I meant the actor.
That's fine.
The character's name is Mike Painter.
Mike Painter, yes.
But they focus heavily on him, and like you're saying, like they purposefully in some scenes won't cut away from his face, even if there's action happening somewhere else. We're stuck on him, or say it's the other way around, like he's speaking and we only see other characters like reactions to what he's saying. You are really like living in his shoes. Like the editing is what's making you feel like you are with this character, because you are seeing what he's seeing, and sometimes like you're only hearing what he's hearing. Like it's very like focused on him.
Yeah, and you're seeing his flashbacks during times. It's him. It's his story.
Yeah. And
they do a really good job of complementing that with the editing style. One of the other things I want to talk about is just one shot in particular. I mean, not one shot. The cinematography in it is beautiful on its own.
Yeah.
It's a really, really well shot, really, really well done, really well thought out cinematography. But there's a couple shots in there that I love beyond all else. One of them, when he's finding his twin's body and he's going through this old concrete construction site, and there's that hole in the wall that the characters walk through.
Yeah.
The leading lines from the rebar in that scene, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So the shot is just up against this wall, and there's a hole in the wall, and all of the rebar, which is like what's inside concrete to give it its shape, it's sticking down towards this hole, and you see way off in the distance past the hole, you see this sort of apparition of the twin, and he's standing there. And then the next shot is of Paul Schneider through the other side of the hole, walking through it. God, those shots are beautiful.
It was really nice.
And then at the very end, when his daughter crawls through the TV, did you see that at the very, very end? That shot I love, because you know how they did it. What they did is that TV wasn't actually TV. It was just a frame, and it had these two sort of like drapes of green screen.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And so what they did is she crawled through the drapes of green screen out. But what they did is they put her out of focus and pulled the focus back to Paul Schneider. And so she crawled through this green screen, and it looks like she's just exiting this world through the television.
I did really notice that. I was just confused as to like
how they did it. Yeah, I love that. And it's really simple special effects shots like that are not over the top in not even the focus of the shot that make the world feel so real. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's easily my favorite piece of television horror. I think it trumps all others.
I mean, it's really good. I haven't watched something that's like actually scared me in a long time. And I think the simplicity of it is what makes it, and the practicality of it is what makes it so scary and so enjoyable. It's really good.
We've got to move on. I could talk about this for another 2 episodes.
We're halfway through. We're doing fine.
Okay, well, I can keep talking about it then.
Nope.
Okay.
You're done.
No,
unless you had something else. Or did you hit all your topics?
I hit all my topics, but my number one favorite shot in cinematic history is the title card shot for the second episode, when it's all of the like telephone wires, and it's I gotta show it to you.
Explain it to me.
Explain it to you?
Or go ahead,
I'll show it to you. Okay. Bam, this shot right here. My favorite shot in cinematic history ever. I love it. I don't know why.
I mean, it's very, you're going to have to take a screen. You can't take a screenshot of that because it'll just come out as a black screen.
I don't know that. I'll try. Came out as a black screen.
Yeah, because streaming softwares, they put like
piracy stuff. I'll see if I can find it online.
No, but it's a very aesthetically pleasing shot. It's very symmetrical. That's why. So there's 3 lines. I mean, you guys can see it up on the Instagram, but there's 3 like big. They're not telephone poles, are they? I guess they are.
No, they're like the
electrical lines.
Electrical lines.
So there's those big like iron structures that you see out in the middle of nowhere next to the freeways, and there's 3 of them going, all sitting right next to each other, going down. I have to cough. Don't put a duck noise, please.
That was the shot that I loved.
That was the shot. Did you want to speak anything more about the shot that you loved?
I love its symmetry. I mean, it's just that shot that stuck with me the entire time. Even like, this was my second viewing of the show in 4 or 5 years, right? I loved it so much that was the one shot that stuck out above all the other shots in the entire. I forgot some of the plot. I forgot some of the like other really good shots, and I forgot what the creature looked like. But like seeing that shot, it stuck with me so hard that I remembered it exactly as it was to this day.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any really interesting cuts or shots that I really liked out of the show. I think it was just, I was just so shocked by how many over-the-shoulder cuts there were. That was the main thing that I found. And the fact that, like, he's never seen with, like, other people in his shot. Like, did you notice that? That, like, if there's, so there's a wide shot and there's, like, multiple people in the shot, he will be the only one that's, like, actually facing the camera. Everybody else will have their backs towards the camera. There's not really any, there are some. There's few shots where, like, he's actually in the shot. Like, you can see all of the characters that are in the shot. It's just interesting. I noticed that the most. But if you don't have anything else to say, I can move on to my topic.
Move on to your topic. Go for it.
You're not going to listen to me? You're going to keep looking for your picture?
Well, you wanted the picture, and you know me well enough to know I'll probably forget.
That's true.
You got it?
Yep.
How'd you get it?
I just took a picture of my iPad.
That works.
That's what I do all the time.
Great. Perfect. Cool. Move on.
This is you. While you were looking for it, I just did the behind the scenes of finding. I just take, and there you go, and that's it.
It actually looks really good.
Okay, it's my turn.
Isn't your turn?
Okay, we picked like subjects that were basically, we both picked horror television shows.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be talking.
That you can only find on one streaming service.
That you can only find on one streaming service, but more people have Netflix than Shudder.
That's true. I will attest to that.
So I actually had to borrow my boyfriend's Netflix to watch it again.
Why? You don't have Netflix anymore?
No, we got rid of Netflix.
Wow. That's surprising, and it's sad that it's surprising because everyone has Netflix.
Everyone has Netflix, but we kept getting like fraudulent charges, and so we just like completely canceled Netflix.
That's fair.
It was saying it was coming from Netflix, which it's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. But I'm going to be talking about The Haunting of Hill House, which I've talked about on the show before. I think I talked about it in like the first or second episode ever of the podcast. But
back when we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, it was very brief. And so I don't know. I tried to describe it before, and I feel like I did a bad job. But Haunting of Hill House, it follows a story of a family who has recently purchased this house that was recently owned, that had previously been owned by the Hill family. And they are trying to fix up the house in hopes of selling it and then building their forever home. Obviously, that's not what happens. The house is haunted, and they have to live through the events that are taking place and the supernatural events that are occurring, ultimately ending in, I don't want to spoil it, but the family leaving. Something tragic happens and the family has to leave, and the show follows is telling of what happened that night that they had to leave and all of the repercussions that came from that in their adult lives. And so it's following those two stories. How much of it did you watch?
I'll be honest, I was only able to watch the first episode.
Really?
I didn't have enough time to watch both that in its entirety and watch Candle Cove.
Yeah, sure. But you picked yours. You picked Candle Cove to watch over.
How long was Haunting of Hill House?
10 episodes. An hour each.
It's 10 hours.
Yeah.
Candle Cove is 6 episodes, 40 minutes each. That's what,
like 4 hours,
4
something
hours,
like that.
3 hours, 4 hours. So.
I mean, but it's so good and it's so spooky.
Well, I know. I watched the first episode and I got moderately spooked.
Moderately?
To be fair, I had watched Candle Cove at 16.
That's true.
So I'm not spooked very often anymore. I'm put in awe from spookiness, but I'm never really spooked anymore.
So you don't even, like, I don't want to spoil it for you. I don't even know if you're going to keep watching it, but it's so good.
I will be honest, I plan to keep watching it, but first I need to finish watching the rest of Channel Zero.
No, you don't need to finish watching Channel Zero. You need to watch Haunting of Hill House.
But I got 3 more Creepypasta series to go through.
You poor thing.
Yeah.
Watch Haunting of Hill House.
I will at some point.
I've been on about this for like a year now, and nobody else has watched it. I can't talk to anybody else about it.
I can assure you, I will watch it. I will. But I just have to, because Shudder cost money that I'm spending myself. My mom owns the Netflix. I can watch Haunting
Netflix
of Hill House.
anytime.
Yeah, I can watch that anytime.
Okay.
I can only watch Channel Zero while I've got Shudder, and I've got a week.
I got a week. Less than a week now.
I got 3 days.
Okay. Well, that sucks because there's so many similarities between the editing style in Candle Cove and in Haunting of Hill House.
I would say yes. I think that Haunting of Hill House takes a slower pace of editing than Candle Cove.
It does. It's definitely not. I mean, I feel the rapidness of Candle Cove. I mean, it's a shorter story, and they needed to give it that like for that slow burn. But Haunting of Hill House, it's a bit of a longer story, and it's supposed like they are really playing into that slow burn because the twist that comes at the end is worth the payoff, is worth all of those episodes. And it hypes. I can't describe the difference in the horror between them. They're very similar, but Candle Cove is a creepypasta, and there's this kind of, I don't want to say hokey, it's not hokey, but there's this like brightness in it.
There's this kind of nostalgic horror to it, right? Because the story itself preys on the fact that it's a child show that's turning these kids demented.
Yeah.
Right? And in and of itself, if you knew the creepypasta before you saw the show, there's more nostalgia to it. So it's preying on this nostalgia feeling that you're getting, whereas I think from what I saw of Haunting of Hill House, it's not the same type of nostalgia that it's preying on. It's preying on the nostalgia of being a child and being scared of the dark and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's more of like the kind of typical horror that you would experience, but it's not like the overplayed that you see in all of the movies now. It's just jump scares. It's just loud noises. It's just that loud. I'm not gonna make the noise I wanted to, but of just like that tension building sound, whatever that's called, like for half the movie. It's a lot slower pace, and it really hones in on those like anxieties and those like something doesn't feel right. And so what happens with the editing, it's telling this, it's going between these two stories of them being children and what happened on this one night, and then the repercussions of that night in their adulthood, and the fact that one of the children actually goes back to that house and commits suicide while they're there. That, I mean, you find that out at the end of the first episode.
I can attest. I knew that. I'd only seen one episode.
Yes. And so the rest of the show is following her death. And so how the family is going to cope with this. What do they need to do about the house now? Because obviously the house isn't done with them. And so those are the two. And so the way they cut between these two stories is incredible. I mean, it's like what you were saying in Candle Cove, where like you almost don't like even notice the cuts. Like they happen so seamlessly, and one just kind of bleeds into the other. Like with there's a specific name for it and I can't think of it right now, but like it's called a match cut, I think. Yeah, match cut. Okay. So it's when like there's a cut between two scenes, two shots that line up with one another. And so the like an example would be like an antique box or something, like a music box, and so you see it in the old times and it's like a close-up of the box, and then as it zooms out you realize, oh, you're not like back in them as children, they are now adults now, and the music box is like sitting on the shelf. It's using one object, it's using something to teleport between the two timelines.
Yeah, so it's like you zoom in, what you see with a lot is you'll see a pan up to the sky and then a pan back down from the sky, and suddenly it's a different place or a different time or something. So that's a match cut.
So that's one of the ones that they use most often to go between the two times that they're telling. One shot in particular that is absolutely incredible is when they're in the funeral home preparing for their sister's funeral, and all of the family members are still being haunted by this house. They still have their demons and their ghosts or whatever is following them. And it transitions from, it's a beautiful shot. They're all standing in the funeral home, like where you sit in the the casket and everything. And the dad hears something and the camera pans to a door, but it's no longer a door. It's now a hallway. The camera like walks down the hallway and then they're back in their old house.
Ooh.
It's one shot. No cuts. I mean, it doesn't look like there's any cuts. I think I didn't do my research, but I do think that is one long take. I think they did build the sets together. And so in that instance, they didn't have to use a cut. But if they did, it was a seamless cut. The other thing is actually there's a lack of continuity between the scenes as well. I don't know if you've noticed this from you only watching one episode, but one of the big things about Haunting of Hill House is that there's a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to what's going on in the background of shots, and that's meant to confuse the audience. And so going like with over the shoulder shots and just panning from one person to the next as they're talking, you'll notice in between those, when you go back to somebody, something has changed in the background. A picture frame has moved, or somebody is standing back there, and then the next shot, nobody's standing back there. So those are, you're really like, I feel like those are typical though. Like you see those a lot in like your basic like horror.
I don't know to that extent. I know that you'll definitely see like, oh, there's someone behind you. Oh, no, there's not someone behind you.
Mm-hmm.
But actually physically changing the set behind them,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anyone do that before.
Oh, okay. But I thought that was really interesting because that's another thing that's really important when you're editing is like making sure like the continuity is staying right. You're not having any continuity errors. I know in last week's episode when I was talking about A Night to Remember and Titanic, in the script, they were actually every page they were noting what the angle of the ship was and like the exact tilt of everything. That way, when they were shooting, they knew exactly how tilted everything had to be for that shot to keep continuity throughout the whole movie. So that's just like more work on the front end, but and you have to do that work. So when it comes to editing, you're not like scrambling because one shot isn't matching the next shot. My point is that you can also use continuity and you can use editing to purposefully confuse your audience in that things aren't staying the same and something else is going on like in the background. The other thing that I really wanted to say about Haunting of Hill House and something that I really enjoyed was specifically when it came to the audio and that type of editing. They really, and you know more about audio editing than me, and so that's why I was really excited for you to watch it, but they do a really good job of blending sounds together. And so it's kind of what we were talking about with like the L and J cuts, but even like more than that, like actually like blending like two sounds together to create like a flow between two shots, especially when it comes to like the jump scares. Because there will be like somebody hammering, and like that's not a good example, but like hammering. So there's like in one scene they're like fixing the house as children, right? And so they're like hammering up like a picture frame or something, and on the next like it's a rhythm, and so on the next beat you're expecting a hammer, but it doesn't have a hammer. It's like somebody like punching a wall in like the next shot, and like they're able to create like a rhythm. And like an expectation with the sounds that they're creating, and then purposely subvert those expectations. One that I really liked was screaming. So they blended the child like waking up from a nightmare or seeing something and her scream, and then the screeching of a car in the present.
Yes, I believe I saw that one or something akin to that.
That was beautiful. And it's because it's not expected. Like I've never seen that before, like where you blend those sounds like so well, and like you're not expecting it. You're expecting her to like finish her scream and like and then like, oh, what happened? What did she see? But no, now you don't get to know. We're on to the next thing.
Back
and
to the next.
And here's
move on.
What is happening, and it's really good. I love the audio editing in it.
Yeah, I mean, audio editing is another big part of film, creating sounds in and of itself with Foley, which is the process of creating sound specifically for film. Creating sound effects is we call it Foley in cinema. I think that the Foley for Candle Cove, whoever did it deserves an award, because the sounds that they created and the sounds that they made fit so well with the tone of what's going on. Like the tooth monster, he has that weird crackly sound that he makes.
It's a beautiful sound though. I really like the crackle of him.
Yeah, it's not like a toothy sound. It's like someone's clicking their tongue.
Yeah,
it's really close to that. It's like an animal making that sort of sound. He makes that sound, and then freaking when Paul Schneider gets choked, that
Oh, I could not. As
unpleasant,
somebody, you know the word for it, that I don't like the throwing up. It's a
emetophobic.
metaphor. I could not listen to it. I could. No.
It's a tough scene. But yeah, creating sounds for stories is another whole other process.
I mean, there's so much. Yeah, we get it. There's so much like other editing that we didn't. We talked about like just the basics of like visual editing. So there's also like audio editing. There's special effects. There's so much more in the realm of editing than we covered.
Then we're able to touch on. There's just so much to do. You know, especially with a visual format. And the processes that we have available to us today, and the ability to, you know, really hone down like special effects or really hone your audio effects and stuff like that. Like you've got a lot open to you in that regard. And I mean, it's just, all it is a tool. Like, cause with Candle Cove, it's very basic editing.
Yes.
Right. It's J cuts, L cuts, jump cuts.
Yeah.
That's it. A jump cut is when you have a purposeful cut that is jarring.
To jar the audience. Yeah.
It's a jump cut.
I mean, and Haunting of Hill House is also it's very simple in the editing and the cutting that it uses, but it's that's what makes it great. It's doing that to purposefully like scare you, to elicit a response out of you, like forcing the audience to look at something that they don't want to look at for a period of time that they might not be comfortable with. That's why I think it's so interesting that we both chose horror things, because I feel like when editing is like the most prominent is because
it's when it's the most necessary.
Yeah, because you're directing the audience's attention, and you have full control over when the audience sees something, when they're not looking at something, when they hear something, when they don't hear something. It's
all up to you. And editing, it's one of the last pieces in the process, if not the last piece in the process for you. So it's very important. Like, it's not to be sort of like, I just gotta put it together. Like, this is the point in which you are crafting and putting together the final story.
I mean, editing is what's going to make it like fit together. It's what's going to make it stick. So editing is, again, what we were saying earlier, that it's meant to like be seamless. You're meant to not see it, because that's how we live our lives. Is like, we don't have cuts between things that we see. I mean, you can count blinking as being cuts between the things that we see, but you're seeing everything, like, and you are completely in control of what you're seeing, and it all feels natural because that's how we live every day. And so when you're making a movie, when you're making a television show, you want it to feel as natural as possible. And with a visual media, you're going to be able to find those things that aren't natural super easily. The audience is going to, if something doesn't line up perfectly from shot to shot, you will be able to notice it right off of the bat. And you might not consciously be like, oh, those shots don't match, but something will feel wrong, and it will take your audience out of the experience. Yeah,
one of the books that I read when I was real young and starting to get into film and starting to get into writing and all of the creative stuff that I do now, it's called The Eye is Quicker. And it's a book just about editing, and it talks a lot about how the human eye is quick enough to detect things that are off than your brain is to actually process the information. So if something's wrong, it'll feel wrong before you realize what it is.
What's wrong, yeah.
So that's what.
And that's why I think with the two pieces that we chose, the editing being so smooth between like cuts, and again, like, it's just so crazy how similar they're, because again, it was going back and forth between him being a child and him being an adult, and the repercussions of what was happening to him as a child. And the way that they were blending the two together, and the smooth cuts and the smooth transitions between these flashbacks, that's what makes it real, is that, and that's what bringing the audience into it. There's a lot of movies and shows out there that specifically like heavily stylize their editing because they want you to like see the editing. They want you to feel those things. But some people, especially in horror, you try to take those things out. Some of the time you want them in, again, to jar your audience, but you take them out to have that experience of being scared, feeling the tension.
Yeah. I haven't finished Haunting of Hill House, but do they do the seamless flashbacks where it's like they're flashing back during the scene And you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they do it though.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think is just the most unbelievable trick that I saw. And I've never seen anyone do that again. Not even in Channel Zero have I seen someone do that again. It is such an interesting style of editing that brings a whole other layer to like the story itself. Like, because there are some scenes that you see in those flashbacks that you never get full renditions of.
Yeah.
Right? It's so good. Like, editing has such a power over the rest of the filming process, because this is where you're putting your story together. This is where you're finishing it, where you're saying, like, these are the moments that happened at this moment. Right? So, I don't know. I just really like those shots and that idea. I just wanted to talk about that more because I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that's all you have.
Randy's random thought of the day. Wow. Interesting.
You've taken a nosedive. Like, you are gone. Where's your head? Okay. Randy's random thought of the day. Okay, do celebrities need IDs? What is the purpose of having identification?
So people can recognize that you are indeed a legal resident of the state.
I guess you're right, but I also think, I mean, you are right, but a more like just general definition is like to for people to prove that you are who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they say like, I mean, on an ID it says like your like age and
eye color, hair color,
and all that stuff. So it's like you have an ID to like say, yes, this is who I am. But like, so if you're a celebrity, because like more people than normal know who you are.
I think you still need an ID for like legal purposes. But like when it comes to maybe getting into a bar and getting a drink, probably don't need an ID.
But I mean, like, okay, so even in like a legal situation, like when you get pulled over by the cops or something,
They're
and like
you're Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, like, are they gonna ask him for his ID? Like, I know who you are. Like,
they need his driver's license number if he's getting pulled over for driving recklessly. It's just an identification number for the state, so they can be like, you're bad or you're good or we don't care about you.
So they just need an identification number. So they don't need like an ID. If they knew their ID, they could be like, yeah, my number is 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, you can do that even as a regular citizen. You're not typically gonna. They don't like that, but
they don't like it.
They don't, but you can do it. It depends on the state too. Some states are like, well, no, you need to have your license with you. Other states are like, well, if you know your number, then it's not that big of a deal. But make sure you have your license with you. Why is there a sticker on there?
A sticker?
I don't know.
But I was also, because I saw like a show or I saw a movie or something where a celebrity was trying to get on a plane and like the security guard was like, I need to see your ID. And they're like, oh, I forgot my ID. But like, I'm like a celebrity, like, you know who I am. Like, can I, and like, so that made me think like, could somebody actually do that? Like if you needed to get somewhere like on a plane and they're like, I need it, but you know who I am. Like I'm Rihanna. Like
I am Rihanna.
I am Rihanna.
You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
They can see that.
Mm-hmm. Just let me on the plane.
My ticket says Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get on the plane?
See, that's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea of people getting special privileges because other people know them, but I'm sure that there are circumstances where that happens and people don't care because they're celebrities. Like, yes, you can get on if you sign my left teat. Like, shit like that.
Teat?
Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Randy's random thought of the day. Wow, that was interesting. Are you good? You looking up teat now?
No, I'm checking off the fact that I talked about fake water and the fact that I talked about
if Rihanna was getting on a plane.
If Rihanna was getting on a plane.
Would she need her ID?
Would she need her ID? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16 more.
You are set for the next year of episodes.
Yeah. I drive too much and I get random thoughts.
That thus implies the name of the bit. Yes.
I want to start another podcast. Or like just like a YouTube channel, like a vlog channel or something, and have a camera in my car. And so when I come up with a thought, I can literally just like start talking and you're like, this is what I'm thinking. Here's my train of thought. okay, and now I get here, and now this is what I'm thinking, and then how does this work? And just go through my... The other day, I was driving to Alex's house, and I was like, why do people have children?
What's
the purpose of having children?
The purpose of having children is making sure that we don't die out as humans.
That's the animal part of us.
Animal part of it, yeah.
What's like the logical reason to have a child?
I don't know. You want to start a family. There's some sort of longing to do that with some people, like to raise a child of your own. To say, I made this.
That's what it is. That's what I came up. That was the conclusion. Was that it's creation. It's you making something you want. And what is like the most like what's the biggest thing you can life is the biggest thing you can create. And so it's that need to create.
I don't know, some guy made a 100-foot tall statue of his waifu, so like it's not the biggest thing you can create.
It's the most important and impactful thing. It's the most impactful thing you can create. Another human life and all of the lives that life will therefore impact. These are the thoughts that I have when driving to Whataburger. To get the burger that I can't have.
You get up to the window and they're like, can I have your credit card, please? Why? You're like tears streaming down your face. Why do we create life?
Why do we have children? What is that? Because none of us asked to be born.
I didn't.
No. If any generation asked to not be born, it's our generation.
We did not ask for this.
We did not want this.
No.
Yeah, that was just... So that's where the thought started, was I didn't ask to be born. And then I was like, well, why was I born? What was the purpose?
And now you're crying and you can't stop. Because all you can think about is that goddamn Whataburger.
Okay. Man, I want Whataburger. Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us on this intellectual journey.
No recommendations?
Shit.
Shit.
Recommendations.
I didn't have.
I didn't have one either. Great.
Let's just skip it then. Just go back with what you were saying.
No,
just act like we didn't know.
No, we have to.
We don't have to.
We do.
We were just gonna do it without it. We were just gonna do it without it.
But we gotta.
Had I not said anything, we would have done it without it.
But now that I remembered, we have to. There's no way we can be like, I'm not gonna cut that out and be like, oh, well, we just forgot. Because we remembered.
There have been episodes where we haven't done recommendations.
Those were like special cases, though, where we were like, there's no way to do a recommendation. I'm going to recommend
1917. There's no editing in that. It's all one shot.
It's not technically.
It's not.
But it looks like it is.
There's a lot of... I'm going to do that one. I think I've recommended 1917 before when we talked about like war movies or... Have we talked about editing before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. For some reason, I just got like really a lot of deja vu. So...
Deja vu.
Deja vu. Okay, so 1917 is a war movie that takes place during the First World War, and it follows two soldiers who are given a seemingly like impossible mission to like go behind enemy lines and deliver a message that could potentially save their whole like battalion of troops. And the whole movie is seemingly like one just long take, but in reality, it's not. It's just a bunch of match cuts, which is what we were describing. Like Taylor, I mean, that's basically what happens throughout the entire movie is the camera pans up into the sky and then like pans back down and then they're just continuing on their journey. But it's actually really good. And you would think that one long take would make it seem like unbearably long. It's still really interesting to watch. I mean, the point of it being one take is to make it seem longer and that you're actually going on this journey with them. But it's not like, oh, I want to like die. Like this is so absolutely boring. They do really fill the space with interesting actions and events.
Oh, I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to do the Netflix miniseries Living with Yourself, starring...
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, starring Paul Rudd.
That's good, yes! Yes.
Oh my goodness. So it's a comedy, sort of a darker comedy.
That's really good, yeah.
About a guy who thinks he has nothing. He sucks. He thinks he sucks. He hates his life. And he finds this like
Say sucks again.
yeah. He finds this like massage parlor that's like, we're going to turn you into the best version of you. But what they actually do is clone him and then make a better clone of him. And then they're supposed to kill him, but they didn't do it right.
They like messed up.
They messed up. And so there's two of him living his life. And so
but there's like the good version of him that's like has all the happy chemicals. And then there's like the sad version of him.
Which is just regular him.
Yeah.
And so it's this comedy of Paul Rudd sort of dealing with himself and like this better version of himself that's doing all the things that he wanted to do. Like he was writing a screenplay, and then the better version of himself actually sits down and starts finishing the screenplay, and he gets mad at the better version because he's like, "That's my screenplay." And he's like, "But it's mine too."
Yeah.
And then they're like sharing their wife. Their wife doesn't know about it. And then it's just sort of it goes off the rails. It goes crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason it's edited so well is because Paul Rudd plays two people, has conversations with himself, and it doesn't feel wrong. Like it feels okay. It doesn't feel like he's having a conversation with himself like some weird YouTube video, right? It's very, very well cut and edited with a lot of J and L cuts. But it's funny, it is relatable, and it's kind of sad, but it ends on a happy note to an extent. I think it does. So I really do recommend it. I watched it, I think 2 years ago it came out.
Oh,
Something
God,
like that.
Why are we so old? Okay.
But yeah, it was really good. It's super short. It's only about 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah, it's
I
real
think.
short.
But it was a joy, and I'll totally watch it again sometime.
Thank you for joining us on this intellectual journey.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Media for the Intellectually Impoverished is produced by Trey Taylor Smith and Miranda Randi Zapes.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MFTII Podcast or email us at mftiipodcast@gmail.com.
That's MFT, 2 Eyes, Podcast. Thanks for listening.